there, it's Vickie Howell here for another Yarnspirations.com knit along, and this is week 2 of our Chill Chaser knit along. We finished a hat before, and now we are tackling mittens. And this is the mitten that I'm going to be showing you. It's a great chunky mitten that would be perfect for a holiday gift. And the cool thing is that it's knit all on straights and then seamed up later. So if you are not a fan of working on double pointed needles, this is the mitten for you. It's got a bunch of texture, and like I said, because it's chunky, the gauge is large, which means the whole project goes by fast. So I'm going to walk you through some of the steps to make it. The first part is the cuff. And I'm going to assume that if you're tackling a mitten, that you already know how to knit and purl for ribbing, which is, so I've done my entire cuff right here, except for the last row. I have a few more stitches just as a little reminder. So we're going to knit, purl. This is a right side row, just so you know. Knit, purl to the end. Okay, then we turn. So this is the very last row of our cuff. And as a part of that, we're supposed to stay in pattern, which means still in rib, which means we will purl all the purl stitches and knit all the knit stitches. And you can read those, you can tell the purl stitches look like a little cowl around the stitch's neck, and the knit stitches look like they're wearing an upside down raindrop around their neck. You know, because that's a thing, an upside down raindrop around your neck. So for this row, we need to increase by 2 stitches, and it just says evenly, so just do it wherevs. I prefer to increase in knit stitches, so I'm gonna work a few stitches in pattern. And then it's time to increase. It doesn't say what increase to do, so you can do whatever one you'd like. I think that I'm going to do a knit one in the front loop and knit one in the back loop. So it's technically called a KFB, so knit in the front and the back loop. And so I've made 2 stitches out of 1. And then you would just continue across the row, and it says to increase evenly, so you can do it wherever. Like I said, I'll probably just do it towards the opposite end of the round since I started at the beginning. You'll also notice that I'm working on circular needles, and I've cut up my cord. There's no reason for this other than I actually prefer to work on circular needles for pretty much all projects that are knit straight. Just because I find that they're less precarious, they don't have the length getting in the way, and also it's just a little easier on my wrists, especially, I mean, this project isn't heavy, so it's not a big deal, but especially if you're working on a heavier project, all that weight can go in your lap instead of on your wrist. Okay, so I'm on the other end, and I'm going to do that increase again. Whoops. Get my yarn in back, so I'm knitting the front part of the loop and then in the back part of the loop that same stitch, and I've now turned 1 stitch into 2, and then I continue working to end. And so I've increased 2 stitches on that last row of the cuff. All right, so now we're ready to move on to the body, but simultaneously the pattern calls for us to move on to our larger needles. Again, this is a circular, yours could be straight, they could be circular, whatever you'd like. We're not working in the round though. Okay, so to do that, we're going to be working row 1. Now this is a right side row, and I'm going to be switching needles, but really all that means is that my left hand needle holding the stitches is the old needle. The new needle that I'm introducing will be in my right hand. And this is the larger needle. So we are going to knit 2 and then purl across 10. And what these 10 stitches are where the sort of pattern stitch panel is going to be throughout the mitten. And for this particular mitten, the action of the pattern stitches is done on the wrong side, which I'll be showing you in a second. Let's see where we're at. So we knit 2 and then purled 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We've got 2 more to go. And then it says knit 13, and that just means knit to end. And the reason why I'm telling you now that it just means knit to end instead of why just knit 13 is because later we're going to be increasing for the thumb, and it'll tell you to stay within pattern stitch. And for this part of the mitten, which is actually going to be the underside of the mitten, that just means knitting straight across, regardless of the fact that you will have increased some stitches. Okay, I can ditch the smaller needle. And now I'm completely on the larger needle, which is a 6.5 millimeter or 10.5, or whatever needle it takes you to get gauge. This is a project that needs to fit, so you do need to do a gauge swatch ahead of time. Okay, now we are on our second row, so we're gonna turn our piece over. And we're gonna work across the palm, which is in stockinette stitch, so that means we're going to, since we're on the wrong side, we're going to be purling 13. Okay, let's count, make sure we have what we need. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Awesome. Now we're going to knit 1, and then we're going to start on the pattern stitch panel that'll go on the top of the mitten. So like I said, all the action is worked on the wrong side, so get ready for some action. All right, we're going to start by purling 3 stitches together. So we've just done a double decrease, right? So we've turned 3 stitches into 2, and to compensate for that, we now need to do a double increase, which means turning 1 stitch into 3. So we knit through the front loop, and then we also purl through the front loop, and then we need to knit again. And I find that it's a little fussy to knit through the front loop, so I would then knit through the back loop. And you can see that I've created 3 stitches. All right, so then we're going to repeat that. Purl 3 together. And then knit 1, purl 1, knit 1, all in the next stitch. And then so you're done with those repeats, and then you're going to end it with a knit 1, purl 2. And if you flip that over for row 3, you can see that those little purl 3 togethers that you created, bunched them up and created these nice little almost bobbles. Creates these cute little nubbins. All right, so for row 3, you're going to do exactly what you did for row 1. So I'm going to go ahead and just work that straight across. And for that, that means that we're going to be knitting 2, and then through across the entire panel, we're going to purl, and then we'll end with knitting to the end for the palm. So I'm going to go ahead and just continue to do that now. Okay, I'm finished with working row 3, which is just a repeat of row 1. And now I'm going to work row 4. And this is the last row of what will create our overall pattern stitch. So for row 4, we're going to, again, purl all those stitches to create the stockinette palm. All right, we've worked on our palm. Now we're ready to work on the pattern stitch panel, row 4. So we knit 1, and then we're going to do exactly the opposite of what we did on row 2, so that the little bobble nubbin things are staggered. So we are going to, in this first one, do our double increase. Knit 1, purl 1, knit 1. And then in the next 3 stitches, which you'll see is actually the double increase from the time before, we're going to purl those together. So that increase then decreased is what gives you the fabric to create the bulk of that little bobble. I'll turn it around so you can see. Okay, then you're just going to repeat again. Knit 1, purl 1, knit 1 through the back loop, purl 3 together, and then knit 1, purl 2. All right, so we worked our body stitches up to this point, the body of the glove, and now we are ready to talk thumb gusset shaping. So for the first row for thumb gusset, we are going to work evenly in pattern. And what that means is, since we just worked the last of the 4-row stitch pattern, well, we must be back on row 1 of that stitch pattern. So we're going to look back at our row 1 and know that that just means that we're going to knit the first 2 stitches and then purl all the way across that stitch pattern panel that we've been working on. So I'm going to do that. And what it says is, it says work patterns stitched for the first, or excuse me, work in established pattern for the first 13 stitches. So that was, we did 12, this is 12 stitches. It was the first 2 knit ones, and then the 10 that were purled. So then we're going to just need to work 1 of the knit stitches before we start our shaping. And to shape, all we're going to do is we're going to do 2 increases in a row. So that's a knit in the front, leaving the stitch on the left needle, and then knit in the back of that same stitch. That's our first increase. Then we're going to do it again. Knit in the front, knit in the back. So now we've created our 2 increases. And this lone stitch right in the middle, all by its lonesome now, but we're slowly going in progressive rows, we're going to increase it so that it will become your thumb fabric. So you're just going to work this, the rest of this row, the first row of the thumb gusset, all the way to the end as you would normally across. And then you're going to work row 2 of the stitch pattern. So we're going to come back, go ahead and work on that, and we're going to come back and I'm going to show you the 3rd row as we can continue shaping our thumb gusset. Okay, now we're ready for row 3 of our gusset shaping. We're supposed to work through the first 13 stitches of pattern stitch, which I have done. And then we need to do that increase again. So we're going to knit front and back, and then knit 2 stitches, which were the increased stitches from the right side row before, and then knit front and back again. And so what you're doing is you're slowly creating fabric in between these 2 sort of marker stitches, and this will be your thumb. And then you're just going to continue working straight to the end and continue in that manner until you have worked through the 6th row of your thumb gusset increases. And you can see I've done that here. You can see we started down here, there was one lonely stitch, and now we've got all these lovely thumb stitches. Okay, so now we're on our shape thumb rows, the next row, and this is a right side. The pattern calls for you to work across all of the first 21 stitches, excuse me, which happen to be the panel, the front panel, and all the thumb stitches. And then what it says is you turn them and you leave the rest of the stitches on a spare needle. Now that doesn't mean that you have to go grab another needle. It just means let them hang out. They can just chill over here while you're only working with these stitches. So you ignore these ones. And then we're now on the purl side, it says to cast on 1. To do that, you can just do a nice little loop around your thumb. See that here? You take the loop, flip it around, and put it on the needle. It kind of looks like a little kind of cursive E wrap cast on. You can cast on any way that you like to if you have a method that you like better. I just find that's the easiest. And then it says to purl 9, including that stitch that you just cast on. Five, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, and then it says to turn but leave the rest of the stitches hanging out on a needle. So really what they're saying is right now we're only working on these thumb stitches. So you're letting these stitches and these stitches just chill or taking a little knitting vacay while you work on the thumb only. Okay, so now we need to cast on 1. I'm going to do that the same way, kind of wrap it around my thumb, twist, jump on the needle, and then you're going to knit 10. And what that's done is created the entire width of what you need this thumb fabric to look like. So you're going to continue in the pattern as the pattern calls for, working a further 10 rows in stockinette on just over these 10 stitches, letting this hang out. So let's go ahead and do that now. Okay, so we have worked all of our rows for the thumb stitches, and you can see that you've got this big flap of fabric right here. These are all the thumb stitches. So we need to, now we've knit them, now we need to release them into the thummy world. So to do that, we're going to start by doing some decreases, and that is just going to be K2 tog 5 times, which just means knitting 2 stitches together 5 times in a row. So we just insert our needle through 2 stitches as if they were one, yarn over, knit them together. All right, so we're going to do that for all the stitches that are on the thumb portion of this project. Turn this around. Again, we're only working on these thumb stitches, so everything else is hanging out. And then we're going to purl 2 together. So to purl 2 together, you're going to insert the needle through the front of 2 stitches with the yarn in front. Purl them as if they were one. Oops, that happens sometimes. Your needle just gets all slippery when wet like. All right, and then you're going to purl them together Do that for the next 2 stitches. And then that leaves you with just 1 stitch left, so go ahead and just purl that one. And you can see that our thumb's being shaped because we've created this little arc. Okay, so now it's time to break the yarn, leaving a long tail for seaming. So I'm just gonna kind of grab some yarn, snip that, and then you're gonna introduce a little needle, or not a little needle, a large eye needle. And you're going to go ahead and you're going to just draw them through the remaining stitches that are on there, so just the 3. You pull those off the needle. And then cinch them shut, leaving the other needles hanging loose. So, now, so you've got your little thumb. Can you believe you just made a thumb? I mean, come on. You turned string into a thumb cover. It's the little things, people, it's the little things. And then you want to just seam these together. And so I'm going to do that by just using this tail that I already conveniently have attached. Go over to the next side, grab the loop, and I'll keep doing that until my thumb is completely seamed shut. Okay, so I finished my stitches, or all my rows, as I had already shown you. We did our decreases, and then I seamed up the back of the thumb with that tail, and then I just wove in my end. So that's gone. So we've got our thumb is done, but now we need to rejoin the yarn. And also pick up 2 more stitches just to close the thumb gap. So I'm going to go ahead and just insert my needle into the base of the thumb. And draw through a loop. That's picked up 1. Make sure I don't have my tail, I have my working end. And then I'm going to do that again, kind of just eyeballing it. I could pick up right here. This is actually the closest strand, but I feel like that's going to give me a big hole. So I'm going to kind of fudge it a bit and go up 1 more. Insert my needle, and then go ahead and you just kind of yarn over and pick up that other stitch. So now I have those 2 additional stitches. I randomly started knitting the continental way. Don't know where that came from, but shows you either way works. And then you just continue across the row. So now you're back to working on all of the stitches, you know, sans thumb, since our thumb is done. And you're just going to continue working over what is now 25 stitches, continuing in pattern stitch until the piece, the entire piece is about 9.5 inches or 24 centimeters from the cast on edge. So we're going to go ahead and do that, and next up will be shaping. Okay, so we've finished our entire mitten now, except for the shaping at the top. We are on the home stretch, people, home stretch. So I should also mention that we worked the body and until it was the 9.5 inches, as I mentioned before, or 24 centimeters. And you need to end on what would be a second row in the stitch pattern. All right, so from there, we're going to start our shaping. We're on the right side. We're going to knit 2. And then we're going to go ahead and purl 10. And this is just, you know, kind of as established already, just working our panel. All right, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So that's our purl 10 and our knit 2 together. So now we need to do a SSK, which is a slip slip knit. It's a slip one knitwise, slip another knitwise, and then you knit them through the back loop. So that is a right slanting decrease. And then our next move is to knit 2 together. I'm sorry, I said right slanting, I meant left slanting. So a SSK is a left slanting decrease. A knit 2 together is a right slanting decrease. I remember when I first started knitting, I asked incredulously to my friend, why would they put 2 different kinds of decreases in a pattern? Are they just trying to be fancy? And she nicely said that she thought that it was because of shaping to go in the different directions, which of course it was. And now I'm passing that knowledge on to you, if you did not already know. Okay, so then you're going to knit 6. Do another SSK, slip, slip, knit, knit 1. Okay, we're done with row 1 of our shaping. So we're going to flip it over. We're going to purl 10. And then we're going to knit 2. Now from here we're going to purl 3 together. And then knit 1. And then we're going to do that again. It says to do that twice. Okay, and then you purl those last 2 stitches. All right, this is our last row of Mitten Town. Get ready for it. We are knitting 2 together, and then we're going to purl 2 together 3 times. And then we're going to knit 2 together 5 times. And that, my friends, is it. You cut. We're going to leave a long tail for seaming. And then we would just thread it on the needle exactly like I already showed you for the thumb, feed it through, and then use this tail to seam up the side exactly as you did for the thumb. And what you'll get is this pretty adorable little mitten. Because this yarn is nice and chunky, you won't even be able to tell where the seam is. It's one of the many reasons I love a good bulky yarn. It's pretty satisfying. and really adorable. So I should mention that this was the right mitten that we've been working on. The left mitten is worked in exactly the same manner except for the shaping is reversed, but you won't have to do that in your mind, don't worry, because all of that is written in the instructions. But now you know every single technique that's needed to make this mitten. I cannot wait to see what different colors and what different well, I guess mostly colors, you come up with, and I would also love to hear who you might be giving these cute little mittens to. All right, I hope to see you knitting along these great Chill Chaser mittens. If you need the pattern, it is on yarnspirations.com. Bye.